Hype is used in every form of media, but in anime particularly, it has been the backbone of the top titles recently. Well, that is until the industry had an adaptation with zero hype, but had an element so compelling that it can only be described as masterful storytelling. And that title is Frieren Beyond Journey's End with the element of substance. So to fully understand the differences between hype and substance, I'll compare Frieren's substance with Solo Leveling, a show mostly built around hype. But first, what is hype? Hype is defined as an extravagant or intensive publicity or promotion that often exaggerates the importance or benefit. So how does Solo Leveling fall under this category? Well, Solo Leveling was not a manga, or in this case, a manhwa, that was just thrown into the audience's lap with little to no fan base. It already built up a significant amount of readers who had already finished the series on their own and were just waiting for the adaptation. So naturally, it's human instinct to want to share and socialize with as many people as possible, and to be the one who puts someone onto a show. But just buzz and word of mouth does not create the hype that Solo Leveling has got. We've seen some titles not live up to the hype even with buzz, like recently with The Beginning After the End, although it is far too early to say, but people are already counting it out. And that is where Solo Leveling has been thriving, keeping the audience with three outstanding sub-elements that continue to build along with the hype. The first is the MC. It's no secret that having a likable protagonist can carry even the most boring of shows. The zero to hero trope never gets old because it brings a sense of relatability to the audience. Most people are grinding it out just trying to be the best versions of themselves and see a direct correlation to Jin-Woo and his story. His ascent from a weak, lowly E-rank hunter to an R farming monarch is the perfect blend of traits to make a strong MC. And not in a deep way, but in a way where we have to see what comes next. Because in its purest, most simplified form, Solo Leveling isn't a story about bonds, deep connections, or self-discovery. It's one man and the rise to the top in hopes of protecting what's closest to him, something most people can relate to, no matter their circumstances. The second sub-element is the system. The system is the glue to the success Solo Leveling has had. A video game-like power system that focuses on pure progression and forces you to be the best version of yourself. The author does something with the system that makes us and Jin-Woo feel the addiction of leveling up and progressing to new heights. This isn't a super deep, intricate power system like Curse Energy. It takes the video gamer in you and it combines it with a relatable protagonist and produces a want for more. And that want is tied back to the hype. With every level up, every boss defeated, it adds to that initial hype of the story, and you start to realize that this isn't just a decent manhwa that made it through the cracks, it has something that draws you back constantly wanting more. The system makes it feel like a third-person MMORPG, and you don't get to control the character. You have to wait and then anticipate their next move. And the final sub-element that is arguably the most compelling reason for the hype is the production. From the choreography to the animations to the pacing, all the way to the music choice, it's all deliberate. Just having a really good animation already gave it a massive advantage because other manhwa have been failing to bring that consistent high value execution, whereas Solo Leveling made sure that if it were to be lacking in story, it would double down on the one thing that would make it popular. This led to the hype tripling from one day to the next. Jin-Woo's first encounter with the double dungeons, his first encounter with the demon tower, or even his fight with Igris. Think back to each of these moments and you can tell that every one of them have been executed at the highest level. This was just the first season, and they followed that up with a similarly great second season. The pacing is also relentless. Every episode either leaves you on a cliffhanger or delivers a win. It's engineered to keep your adrenaline high and your finger hovering over the next episode button. And what makes Solo Leveling so interesting is that even though it doesn't dive into philosophical questions or complex character arcs, it doesn't need to. The hype is the vehicle, but it's driven by consistency, visual dopamine, and emotional momentum with Jin-Woo. It's not trying to make you cry, it's trying to make you cheer, and that's okay. Not every story needs to be profound to be powerful. So as far as Solo Leveling goes in terms of hype, they are nearly textbook definition. The adaptation did leave out a good amount of the substance that the manhwa had, but either way, it's not known for it. Whereas Frieren's entire story is built on the foundation of substance. But what exactly does this word I'm throwing around mean? Well, substance in writing refers to the depth, meaning, and value of your ideas and arguments, rather than just the length or surface level details. It's about offering insightful and meaningful content that resonates with the viewer. Frieren, on the surface, might seem like it lacks all the elements of a popular #1 show. No flashy power-ups, no overpowered MC, well, maybe she is a bit overpowered, and no constant action, but that simplicity is extremely deliberate. On the first watch, You might miss most of the storytelling because it's hidden in the quiet moments. It gives off slow fantasy anime vibes at first glance, but that's exactly where the substance sneaks in. Every pause, look, flashback carries emotional weight. The story doesn't shout its themes at you, it lets you feel them. The passage of time and memories through a perspective that is unique to this human experience. Frieren isn't about what's happening, it's about why it matters. Where Solo Leveling rides the wave of momentum, Frieren invites you to sit with your feelings, to process grief, legacy, and what it means to live beyond others. It's storytelling that rewards patience rather than never-ending excitement. And you could be like some of the many who dropped this show because it didn't pick up until episode 5, or you could be like the majority who stuck around and invested in the story. It replaces that spectacle with reflection. Instead of building tension through power, it builds through character introspection and emotional provocation. And that hits harder. Because while Solo Leveling makes you say, let's go, Frieren makes you sit there and whisper, damn. Makes you sit there with these lingering thoughts of how this character, although not human, has a way of making you feel like one. Because in its purest, most simplified form, Frieren is a story about memories. But on a deeper level, it's a story about having appreciation for the little things, and that time is your greatest asset. And one of the things I love about Frieren's substance is that it can be found in almost nearly every encounter. The most underlying example is when Frieren is fighting her doppelganger. On the surface, it's Frieren versus a clone, but it's not just a mirror match. It's a confrontation with her past self, her limitations, and even potently, her regrets. See, the doppelganger doesn't just copy her spells, it copies her exact mindset of when she learned them. That means it fights like the Frieren who lived mechanically, the version who studied magic for centuries without questioning why she wanted to get stronger, a Frieren who was emotionally distant, disconnected, and stuck in the limbo of routine. So when Frieren fights it, she isn't just dealing with a strong enemy, she's facing a version of herself that existed before she traveled with Himmel and the others, before she knew what it meant to feel and to lose someone and actually mourn them. And that's where the substance hits the hardest, because she doesn't win that fight with power, she wins it by breaking away from her old habits, by abandoning that rigid structure she clung onto for hundreds of years. She steps into her own growth, and in that moment shows us substance is evolution, not just of power, but of purpose. The doppelganger knows how to cast her spells, but Frieren knows why she casts them now. And that difference, that tiny, almost invisible shift in intention, is what makes the real Frieren stronger. It's substance over style, the growth over the repetition, and overall, the wisdom over knowledge. So what looks like a basic fight scene on the outside is actually Frieren quietly proving she's no longer the detached, immortal mage just drifting through time. She's someone who remembers, who cares, and who actually fights with the meaning. And that's the kind of storytelling that doesn't need loud music or flashy effects. It just needs a viewer who's willing to look past the surface. And this fight still had top tier effects and an excellent soundtrack. But the point is that there's so much value that Frieren brings, even to a fight that is visually stunning. There was no need to add anything beyond the visuals and music, but they did. And that substance is what created a #1 anime. Frieren did succumb to some form of hype, which is to be expected because a #1 anime is going to draw curiosity to the masses, but that promise of substance and deeper story is what kept the people connected and why fans are still talking about it today. So although hype may see more success than substance, it still doesn't take away from the fact that substance can trump all the hype.